Okay, here we are. Michael Steele, do you think that a Republican will challenge Trump for the nomination in 2020?
The short answer is no, but there will be probably someone like a Ben Sasse, senator who has been very critical of the president for quite some time. And now whether he gets into a direct...
What about a Bull Moose party? In 1912, not that I have to tell you about 1912, but in 1912, the Republican Party split.
Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt.
If 2018 goes the way that some in the party feel it may, given how the public is really kind of roiling with all the Trump stuff, yeah, you could see someone step up to try to save the party for 2020 in some fashion.
The fact that Roosevelt didn't win, though, with the popularity he had, shows you, though, the difficulties. Even then.
John Kasich,
right.
challenging him.
John Kasich,
right, that's what I'm saying. Somebody like John Kasich. Well, I mean, but like it's funny when you watch the liberal news channels, it's all Republicans like you and Nicole Wallace and Charlie Sykes and Rick Wilson, like, oh, you know, Steve Schmidt. It's all we see is great Republicans, smart Republicans,
reasonable
Republicans who hate Donald Trump. I mean, you'd think that was the whole party if only you watched MSNBC. 90% of Republicans are still with Trump.
That's the game both of the networks play, right? Fox has these people who are just this much to the left of center as their liberals, and you know and
MSNBC has collected all 6 remaining sane Republicans.
Richard Clark, what would be your strategy for dealing with Kim Jong-un?
Talk to him. You know, the president said today, as people said today, we've lost our patience with this man. They haven't sat down on the table with him.
No one has. You're right.
Sit down on the table. He's doing this because he wants something.
Rodman does it.
Yeah, well, he's the only one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're right.
You know.
Yeah, and Rodman, Trump, what's the difference, you know?
That means
That's not fair to Dennis Rodman.
He's got to do karaoke.
Okay. Should congressmen get a housing stipend like Jason Chaffetz suggested this week? Okay, he's a congressman from Utah. He's retiring.
He's retiring, yeah.
And he said, I can't afford it. He was sleeping in his office. I mean, they make, what do they make?
$178,000 a year.
And
they all share places, too.
Yeah.
Because they have to keep 2 homes. And
and he's now going to go and get a lucrative contract with some television network, and he'll have cashed in.
But I'm sure the public would be very supportive of that, right? The idea of giving additional
right?
to our members of Congress.
We're always lecturing poor Americans to live within their means.
Yeah, exactly.
And to go without health care. And Chaffetz is the very asshole who said maybe you shouldn't buy a cell phone and you should buy health care instead, because a health care plan annually costs about as much as a cell phone.
Chaffetz is also the one who went on television at least 5 times and said he had to distance himself from Donald Trump after the Access Hollywood tapes and couldn't possibly look his 15-year-old daughter in the eye and say that he was supporting this guy, and then turned around and voted for him.
Right. Yeah.
So fuck that guy.
Right. Okay.
I didn't say that.
We'll have him on this show, and Chiron will say, the very asshole. Dan, given the way the Trump administration is trending on gay rights, do you feel confident telling LGBT youth that it gets better? Yeah, I mean, he was supposed to be pretty good on this subject, and Ivanka was supposed to be a moderating influence, but it doesn't look too good on that score.
No, there hasn't been a great, large sort of thunderbolt moment with Trump attacking LGBTQ civil rights, but there's been a lot of little cuts. And it's kind of the death of the 1,000 cuts that we're worried about. Just today, Trump appointed to the U.S. Foreign Aid Agency, I can't remember the name of it, to work on gender equality and gender issues, someone who's an anti-trans rights activist. So in the same way that he appoints Betsy DeVos, who opposes public education, to head the Department of Education, he's appointing people who have control over things that are going to impact LGBT Americans, all these anti-LGBT bigots, including his first pick, Pence.
By the way, I saw a headline in the New York Times. It was like on page 14, like buried in the middle of the paper. I never heard anybody else talk about it. Shows you where we are, perspective-wise. It said, cuts to aid funding could cost 1 million lives. But they're not American lives, so, you know, page 14, who gives a shit? but a million lives.
But that's been...
And one of the first executive orders he signed was, again, with the Mexico City rule to roll back federal funding of abortion providers and abortion advisors in developing countries. That's already having a huge impact on women in developing countries and directly impacting their health prospects.
And you know who was great on that issue? George Bush.
Yeah, very much so.
And very popular in Africa and Europe.
No, not so much. Not so much.
But it was good on Africa.
Can I quickly answer the "it gets better" question and whether we can
Yes.
say that? It gets better because we get out there and we fight to make it better. It doesn't get better by